dreams of a rose and of falling down a long flight of steps.
Hello, welcome to Just Another Horror Podcast. I'm John.
I'm Ben.
Cobra.
What's up, John?
You guys laughing at?
Do you want to do the rest of the introduction, or do you want me to take over?
This is my pick. It's been a long time coming. It is Exorcist III.
1990.
And ladies and gentlemen...
And it is 1990.
The
always
Heretic.
If you... Yes, there... No, it's the Legion. It's not the Heretic. Ah.
I have this book. I haven't read it yet.
We skipped over the Heretic because we're never going to watch that thing.
Is that the second one?
Unless
so
Daniel,
bad it's
unless
bad.
Daniel requests
Because
it.
it's so bad, it's
so
bad.
terrible.
Is that the second one?
Yes.
Okay, I was just telling you that Peter Blatty just came out last week.
Said it was a piece of
and said
shit.
that Exorcist II is the biggest piece of shit film ever made.
Yep.
Ever made?
That's what he said.
He did say that.
Has he watched Rest Stop?
Has he watched Shockma? Has he watched Shockma?
I challenge you, William Peter Blatty.
Watch the fucking movie that we had to watch. What was it?
Scarlet Fry.
It's worthless. Holy shit. Okay.
Choking on something there?
Yeah.
Penis.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Did you just get back from the courthouse?
I did. I took a little break between episodes to get us some money.
Georgetown.
Alright, we're in Georgetown
1990.
again. It's
Like
where
the atmosphere.
Looks like Camp Crystal Lake.
I think it looks like the original.
I thought the beginning of they play on the same shit from the original. The town looks the same. Everything seems the same.
Well,
Yeah, tubular bells.
they're actually shooting on location in Georgetown, right?
Yes, they are.
I like it.
Tubular
I like
bells.
the streets.
Just like Jaws 4 did, which didn't work.
Tubular bells.
Yes, Tubular Bells is at the beginning. That's the only time we hear it, I think.
Mhm.
I love a movie with a good fog machine.
Oh, yeah.
The Fog.
Love it. And I didn't pick the fog in my last
I wish
5
you
picks.
would've.
No, because I don't want
So I can make Robin cry.
to. Maybe I'll
I
pick
think
it
that's the
next.
single worst remake that's ever been remade.
Oh, I never watched
hear
the
it's
remake.
terrible.
I saw it in theaters.
Oh
I
my god, have you
remember-
seen the new My
I
Bloody
remember
Valentine?
Absolutely nothing. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you
wasn't-
did. You refused to review it
I
because it was so bad.
fucking bad. I'm
It
not talking
wasn't
about
that
it.
bad.
They killed fucking Tom Atkins halfway
That's
through with
the
a
worst part
pickaxe.
about
Oh
it.
god
for
damn
sure.
it.
All right.
So the
Let's get back to
movie
this.
opens up with a church door blowing open and a Jesus statue bleeding.
All right, I have a question. Did that
Okay.
really happen? Or
I don't know if it's supposed to.
did
tell
they
the
walk
audience
into
what's
work the
happening.
next day and like, what the fuck happened?
There's a lot of church desecration going on in the movie.
What's
Yes.
Grand Bush?
What?
Grand Bush.
I have no idea.
I don't know. These are your good notes too.
That's what
Wind
you
blows
said.
through church. Grand Bush. That's a name.
Grand Bush.
Name.
No, I have no idea.
No, whatever happens.
Is someone named
somebody
Grand Bush?
walks out. No, somebody walks out and starts walking down the road and walks up to one of those kids that
Yeah, that's gonna die.
he dies. Yeah, he gets his head ripped off. Ingots. Ingots
The name? I don't know.
Ingots stuck into their eyes. They're like big spikes.
Why do I have somebody's walking with a cane
And
down the
their
street?
head gets cut off and gets replaced by a Jesus statue painted up in blackface.
Oh yeah, that's
Holy
rough.
fuck.
The
That's
narration.
terrible.
This is Brad Dourif right off.
Yes.
That's Brad Dourif narrating, right?
Uh-huh. Or
Okay.
it might be, what's his name?
No, I think it's.
Because he says, I remember
Damien Carey.
I remember a long flight of
Damien?
stairs, and he rolls down the stairs.
Okay, well, that's
Jason
They throw a
Miller.
camera down the stairs, yeah.
I thought they rolled it down.
Maybe they rolled it.
I don't know if they
care.
threw it down. That might have broke it, John. Come on. This is your
Like
movie.
rolling, it doesn't matter.
Come on.
So we cut to the very next day, and there's like helicopters and people like taking pictures of a crime scene.
I got 2 priests talking about going to the movies.
That's
One
like-
priest likes The Fly.
Right after that, the guy who liked The Fly was in The Fly.
Yeah, you said that, and I
So you
was
said
like,
the
oh,
fly
okay.
too.
Because
I
I
was wrong.
thought it was one of the most bizarre references. I was like, what priest is like?
He's like The Fly. 'Cause
Yeah.
he's in it.
He's
That's
in
why. That's why.
He's in the
fucking Dyer-
original? Yeah, obviously. Well,
Father
no,
Dyer
he
is-
was in the. Was he in the '80s movie?
Yes, he was in the first
The
80s
or-
movie with Jeff Goldblum.
Okay, he
He's
wasn't in the
incredible.
original.
Right,
Oh,
right.
remember when we watched that?
Yeah, that was alright.
We watched them both, didn't we?
Help me!
Yeah, it was
They
alright.
didn't end up on the. What happened to them?
I don't know.
Who?
We watched the original.
Probably something I did with them.
That's where we ended.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did like those 2 comparisons. Then we did The Hills Have. I think The Hills Have Eyes was our last one, and then
Yeah, that's
I
it.
show
swear
was
I saw
shut
it.
down.
If I can find them, I'm putting it up for sure.
he shut down the show.
Sorry.
Did you?
I did. I've done that 4 times now.
Was that before we went
It's
to...
alright. Sometimes we need a break.
Yeah, that was
I
before.
think the break is good for us.
The revamp was like What We Do in the Shadows, It Follows,
Carrie.
all those ones.
Okay, so...
We've been at it for like 6 years, 5 years
know, it's
now.
fucking
We still
crazy.
don't know what we want to be.
Yeah, we're not sure yet.
We want to be... That's going to be the best part about this show.
Oh, man.
Ouch.
George C. Scott and his bloated fat belly.
Oh, he did look like he was gonna burst.
Okay, so he's
He looked
supposed
like
to
the
be...
he looked like the Asian in the Asian guy.
Big Trouble in Little
Oh,
China.
yeah, where he's like.
That's true.
He was so fat.
So he's supposed to be Kinderman from the first episode, or the first movie,
Why didn't they get Kinderman?
because he's dead at this point.
Was he?
He was either dead or he was way too old.
1990.
Didn't really look like him.
This is
Maybe
what?
he didn't want to
Like George C. Scott wasn't old?
He was.
This is 16 years after the original.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Father Dyer, who must have been the priest at the end of part 1 that was like...
I think it might be 17 years after the original.
Was he the one that was reading the rites to Father
74
Karras at
in
the bottom of the
1990.
stairs?
Is it 74? I thought The Exorcist was 73.
73.
Oh, it is. Okay. You're right. 17 years.
Was Father Dyer the one that was reading the rites to Father Karras at the bottom of the stairs?
See, I guess maybe I need to watch this
When?
back to
The
back
first one.
because
No one was reading his rights.
Somebody was reading, not his rites, his
last
last
rites.
Yeah, last rites.
His
There was
last
somebody
rites.
holding his head.
right
on
to
the
his
top.
rights. You
Yeah.
have the right to remain silent, Father Karras.
Don't you move! Was that a twitch? Was that a twitch?
That's actually funny. I just got that. He wasn't reading it.
Somebody, was there a priest at the bottom
he
reading?
was crying and reading him.
Yeah, I think that's who he's supposed
That's
to be.
Father Karras or Father Dyer.
Yeah.
And Kinderman is the cop that
Who
talks
wants to
to
watch
Father
movies
Karras.
with him.
Wants to watch
Yeah, we
movies
got
with
it.
him,
Because
yeah.
they have that holiday where they celebrate his death or his life.
They
or
both
his-
tell the people that they're with that they're trying to cheer the other one up. Nobody wants to admit that they actually are sad
So
about
they're
it.
going to the movies.
Because maybe neither one of them are sad about it.
They're going to the
They
movies.
feel like the other one is.
They're going to the movies and touching
Who is
each
Father
other. aren't
Karras?
They probably are. They're like crying on each other, touching each other's penises. Who fucking knows?
I'm sorry. We're gonna. We know how much you love this movie, so we're gonna make it as rough on you as
Thank you.
possible.
Thank
Father
you.
Karras!
There's an underlying homosexual theme to this, isn't there, John?
Maybe. I mean, Stephen Dorff and
old-
Jason Miller are the same person.
Oh.
Stephen Dorff?
Brad
Brad
Dorff. Brad Dorff.
Wait, who's Stephen Dorff?
He's from The Gate.
Oh yeah.
In some Blade movies.
Yeah, he was also.
The main villain in Blade?
I
Is
never
he
watched
the
Blade.
main guy?
I think he is.
No, he's like a little...
I never watched Blade. He was in that
The first
that
one,
that
I think he
awful.
is.
You're the second one.
Oh god, what was that
No,
awful?
I stick for Ben and Cobra.
What was that awful '50s gang movie with Matt Dillon?
Gangs in New York.
I almost called it Smoking Aces, but it's not Smoking Aces.
Oof, I've seen that. Ugh.
I went to theater and
I can't
saw
remember.
that.
God
Anyways,
damn.
Stephen Dorff.
So many regrets for going to theaters.
Yeah.
That's got to be up there.
That was when Jeremy Piven was like that junkie guy, right?
Yep.
What is the
That
worst?
was... What they advertised was not what I got.
No, it is not. It is absolutely
they
not.
duped me into that movie.
What is the worst theater movie you ever went to that you thought was pretty cool and you went to see it, and then like you think back and go, "Oh my god, I paid to go see that."
Shit, The Ringer, probably.
Ringo?
The Ringer with Johnny
Oh
Knoxville.
Jesus Christ!
The retarded movie.
I saw that the first time and I was like, because of one line, I thought the whole movie was great. It's when the one guy goes, "When the fuck did we get ice cream?" And I was like, that's it. This movie's grand. It's 10 out of 10.
Ouch.
I go back, I watch it, I'm like, what a piece of shit. What about you?
My experience is just the Boogeyman because the
That was
theater
such-
they turned the lights on because little fucks were everywhere, and then the movie was so shitty, and it was 15 minutes longer than it was necessary
Yeah.
because those kids in the front row wouldn't shut their goddamn mouths, and they had to stop the movie, and I was there longer than I should have been for a horrible movie.
Someday we're gonna watch that. It's gonna be very tough. We might have to just have that. That's the only one we review that week because it's so hard to get through.
Yeah. After we get through our 5 picks, we'll go through like
5
3
bad.
bad ones and 2 good ones in the next 5, and so we have to conquer like Open Water
Oh,
and whatever you guys
Ooh,
don't really
Open
like.
Water. U.S. Marshals.
Oh, Oh, man.
U.S. Marshals.
It's a fucking sequel to The Fugitive.
I know.
Oh, it's bad.
Is that with Tommy Lee Jones?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
With
It's
Wesley
bad.
Snipes.
We don't want to watch that.
No, it's not. No,
That's
I'm
not
just
a
saying that was
horror
my
movie.
worst. Like, I was just like, oh my god, this movie looks awesome. And then, no, might have been Knockaround Guys.
I don't even know what that is.
Fucking Google it.
Holy
It's not good.
shit.
Knockaround Guys. Vin Diesel.
Oh, well, there you go. All right, we're good.
Barry Pepper, the sniper from Saving Private Ryan fame.
He also was Dale Earnhardt in a movie
Oh, was
on
he?
ESPN.
8.
And, anyways, that actually might have been Knockaround Guys. I used to go see a lot of movies and then.
That's such a bad.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
All right, let's get back into this.
Okay, so Kinderman goes back to his police after he tells Dyer about the murder, and Dyer, you know what? I love this fucking scene.
A lot of fucking dialogue in this movie, John.
But it's so fucking well written.
Is it?
It is. I love these fucking
You gotta read
conversations.
the book, but
He tells Dyer, so you didn't see what happened to the body at the beginning.
The killer drove an ingot into each of his eyes, then cut off his head.
Is this okay, Father? I can get you something else. Some more coffee?
In place of his head was the head from a statue of Christ, all done up in blackface, like a minstrel show, you know. The eyes and the mouth painted white. Mr. Bones. The boy had been crucified on a pair of rowing oars.
no.
Or did I?
Oh,
He
he explained.
describes it to
No,
Dyer.
it's pretty graphic.
And Dyer's like, fuck, man. Like, he's probably heard everything, and he's still like,
no, it's pretty.
God
it's
damn.
pretty graphic
Yeah.
We get it.
description.
We get it.
So
But-
Kinderman then the next day is talking to his fellow detectives. Maybe I'm out of order here. But at some point he talks to his detectives and he goes,
You're a racist, Ryan. Did you know that? On the entrance exam for new policemen, they ask, what are rabies and what would you do for them? Ryan said, rabies are Jewish priests, and I would do anything I possibly could for them.
That's pretty
you're giving
funny.
me the same fucking looks that you gave me during Cemetery Man. I
Yeah,
knew
I-
it.
These Jews are crazy. I have.
I
Somebody
just-
says
Oh,
that.
there's so much racism in the fucking movie. It's so weird.
I just have George C. Scott. He starts talking about the Gemini killer,
Yes.
who died 15 years before.
Yeah. He just wants the file on him because a lot of these killings that he's been
Resemble
seeing-
that,
similar,
and
yeah.
he explains later in the movie
put out
what was
fake
withheld.
details. Mhm.
They normally do this during investigations. They withhold certain
to
information
weed out the crazies.
about a crime. So that if someone calls in and says, "Yes, that's me. I did this," then they can say, describe it. Fucking mother-in-law staying in his house. She's fucking annoying.
She's
I
only
hate
in
her
it
voice.
for like
It
a
doesn't
minute,
matter.
though.
I hate her voice.
She's pretty terrible.
She's racist.
Yep.
Everybody's racist. in
Well,
this movie.
that's part of why George C. Scott being so loud is
I
so
only know him
good.
from Patton. I've never even seen the
He's
Changeling.
acting like somebody whose best
The
friend
Changeling's
died,
not
who
very
lives
good
with a
either.
racist, who has two moron partners would act.
slow and boring like this.
Just in my opinion. Especially since like this stuff seems to be supernatural. I'm sure he's not used to supernatural.
No, you can tell that 'cause he's always like, "What do you think, priest?" Or
Well, I
whatever.
don't think
he's like,
Does he think it's supernatural yet? He just thinks
Not
it's like
yet.
that serial killer, the
But
Gemini.
when shit
It's like,
starts getting supernatural, like there's a guy who's doing the exact same killings as the Gemini killer who died 15 years ago. He finds that a little bit strange.
yeah.
as do I.
I thought he was just
I love-
questioning: did we kill the right?
Give
Did
me
we
the
You're
execute?
gonna
explanation.
start giving me make it realistic to make it good. The Exorcist had the exact same fucking thing happening. There were two spirits in a body. It's the same thing.
That's
Yeah,
not
but that
true.
felt more of a
What
possession
spirit?
movie. This feels more of a serial killer psychological thriller.
Yeah,
movie.
no,
It is a
you're
little
no.
bit.
Okay, so the devil supposedly was possessing
Cue-
Regan. Let's
Cue
say.
the death.
Oh, I just
that
got like
he
a
speaks.
demon, not the devil.
Okay, let's say. Okay, so
This is ridiculous.
the devil is possessing Regan, right? In
Or
the Exorcist.
Pazuzu or whatever it is.
A demon.
Yeah.
In this movie, you have Father Karras dying, the Gemini killer being put to death,
At the same time.
a demon passing one over and crossing one over into the other one's body,
Here's what I think happened.
or it's doing something weird like that.
I'm gonna draw something for you. So
Draw me something so the viewers
Okay.
can see this.
Here you go, viewers. The devil is sitting at a desk.
Okay.
He's got this long line of fucking problems going on. All these people fucking complaining.
Who?
And just so happens at the exact same time we get the Gemini killer and fucking
Father Karras.
Pazuzu coming in at the exact same time. They talk to the devil. The devil's like, the Gemini killer's like, hey, I got a lot more murdering and mayhem I'd like to do. Next in line is Pazuzu. I was possessing a little girl and causing a priest to lose his faith, but now I got pushed out of it. The devil's like, well, wait a minute. Let's put you and okay, let's take the priest that got you out because you're gonna get revenge. You're not going back to Karras, who's over here dying. You're not going back to Karras, but instead, since you want to keep killing, we're gonna put you in the priest that Pazuzu was last in. So when you take over the body and make him start killing, he feels absolute torture and just horrible feelings, and that's what he gets for getting rid of Pazuzu. So Pazuzu's like, that's fucking great, man. Torture that fuck. And Gemini's like, that's great, man. I get to kill more people. The only problem is Karras' body is broken up as shit and it's laying inside of a coffin. So once Karras gets out, he can walk around.
How does he get out?
Because he's got fucking the devil helping him. I mean, that's the best I can do. He's got strength. Sort of like when Reagan was throwing people across the room in the first one.
But she only had Pazuzu.
Well, she only had Pazuzu. This guy either has Pazuzu or the devil.
Or the devil.
Either or.
You're missing this chart over here.
Oh my god.
It's incredible.
What happened?
There's diagrams now. What
We've
happened?
cut the Gemini to Pazuzu
Okay, look.
to Karras.
Let's say this is... I'm going to give you a
Quick
kind of idea
overview.
of what's
Just
going
go
on.
quick.
Gemini and Pazuzu were sent to hell at the same time. Gemini was being put to death at the same time that Pazuzu...
He's a demon. Shouldn't he have already been in hell?
He's in the body
Father
of
Karras,
Reagan.
as he's dying at the
Then
same
he goes
time
into
as Gemini.
Karras' body, who jumps out the window.
Okay.
So now Pazuzu has no home. He was possessing a little girl. He was making people lose their faith, and he defeated the priest who exorcised him out of that boy in India. So he got what he wanted, but
Father
he's
Mary.
still pissed about it. So there's a line of people who are complaining to the devil. That's something I made up.
Devil.
Gemini.
I gotta complain.
Yeah. Gemini
I
killer.
imagine Al Capone was
It's
on that list.
Gemini
Festivus
killer
in hell
and
right now.
Pazuzu come to him at the exact same time. Gemini's
And
got
Jimmy
a problem.
Hoffa.
He was murdering people and making people question their faith. Pazuzu was punishing a bunch of priests. Now we can't put both of them in the same body. That would be overcrowding. 2 we can get, 3 we can't. Because a possession is 2 people inside of a body. So the devil goes, look, I can't put you back in another body, but I can put Gemini's possessed soul into Karras, who was the one who exorcised you.
Yeah.
Once Gemini gets his strength back, I can help him maneuver around, start murdering people. Karras will still be in there, and he'll have to see himself murdering all of these people, and it'll torture him.
This is pretty
So
fucking
Pazuzu's
a lot
like,
of thinking.
that's great, man. I don't have to go back, and the guy gets tortured for it.
So my
And Gemini's
question-
like, I can kill people. This is even better than I could have imagined.
So my question is, one of my questions, if Gemini is stuck in this asylum, in this room, is he doing the killing? Or is he possessing
They
other
can move
people?
him to other bodies.
There are no
Why do
rules.
you need that body then?
What?
Why can't the devil just go possess somebody to have somebody
It's just a place for him to like reside in, I think,
to rest?
because he needs to be in that body to make that body be tortured and see all the murders that are going on.
Okay.
Takes them both with him. That's why he's in a coma, but his brain is still working.
Who's in a coma?
Karras.
But he
keeps
talks
slipping
later.
into comas, and his
Yeah, 'cause
brain thing
he
will
falls
go fucking
asleep.
crazy.
Yeah, he falls asleep every so often.
Yeah.
But then sometimes he's Brad Dourif.
I think that's for us.
Is it?
Yes. I don't think that Brad Dourif shows up to George C. Scott in this
I think-
movie.
You think it's always Karras?
It's always Karras.
I don't know about that. I thought the whole switching bodies and switching looks was to really put George C. Scott.
I thought it was to
What
make.
do you know?
Here's what I think. I think it was to make the dumb audience members who didn't understand get it.
There are dumb audience members.
There are. So you need to make them understand what's going on by putting
All right.
Sheriff in there.
Where are we at in this?
Originally, they took fucking Jason Miller completely out of the movie.
I
out.
would have liked it if Brad Dourif wasn't in this movie and it was just Jason Miller.
I thought that would be a better idea.
Yeah.
See, Hollywood has no fucking clue what they're doing. They're like, well, we shouldn't have both. You're right. Let's get rid of Brad Dourif. Wait, what? No!
He just did Child's Play. Get him.
He also was like a serial killer in an episode or two of the X-Files around this time, probably. Or was X-Files later? X-Files is later,
Later.
right? Came
93.
93 it started?
Yep.
Okay. He does play a serial killer. Kind of the same role as this, where he's a serial killer being interviewed and he knows more.
Did he do
than-
anything before Child's Play? I'm sure he did. He's.
I think so. I think I looked it up.
Probably.
And
Yeah.
Anything horror or just like TV bits?
I
don't
bet
know.
he did TV first.
Keep talking. I'll look.
Okay, we cut right to the next murder. Like,
And who is it?
It's a priest.
And what's his name?
I don't know.
You didn't take notes.
No, but there was a K at the beginning of it because that's key to this whole thing. He kills people
No,
that begin with the
it
letter K.
wasn't. It was Kevin, and that was his middle name.
Oh, his middle name was Kevin. Okay. So, I don't remember what he did, but I think he was the one who maybe approved Karis doing the exorcism. And that's why he died.
He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, right,
Can
right.
we?
We can't watch that for this. No.
What if we just pretend that Jason Voorhees
Oh my god.
is in the asylum?
We're just gonna
and
throw
we
him in
pretend
there.
we just start making shit up and Danny DeVito getting hacked up and Christopher Lloyd getting hacked up.
Well, he has 169 acting credits.
He's everywhere, man.
Most famous for his role in Urban Legend.
He was in that weird. There's a horror film in the '78, The Eyes of Laura Mars.
No idea.
He was in that.
I might have been.
He was in Dune.
Oh boy.
I watch Sting. Is
Oh,
in
he was
that.
in Blue Velvet. I'll have to go back and watch that and look.
He's in Halloween from fucking Rob Zombie. Ooh.
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
Oh, the
He's
TV series, The Hitchhiker. Remember that series on USA Network? I used to watch it. all the time.
Maybe.
It's kind of creepy. No, Child's Play was this big horror breakout, I think.
That's terrible. Brad Dourif, you're way worse than we ever thought you were.
He's also in a
He
movie.
plays Billy Babbitt.
Oh, what the fuck movie is it where he becomes?
In
He has fire.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
He can create fire with his body.
Pyromaniac.
Sounds like an X-Files episode, but I don't
It's
know.
spontaneous combustion.
That's
he's-
the movie, Spontaneous Combustion.
I reviewed it for the 31 and 31, and he just.
It's a real original fucking title.
Oh my god, he just keeps blowing up everybody around him, and one guy goes in a fucking bathroom to
It's-
dry his hands.
Spontaneous combustion is usually the one person just blows up, catches on fire,
Well,
and
that's
they're
what's
done.
funny
You're
is
dead.
they're all like, he's dangerous. Just
Sounds
get
like
him away
he's-
from people, man.
Sounds like he's more of a fire starter than he is a...
Well, he doesn't even remotely control it. It just kind of fucking happens. I don't understand it at all.
What about The Exorcist III? Do you understand it?
Yeah, I completely
Oh,
do.
okay.
Okay, so
Just go with it.
I love.
Tell us.
I love the transitions in this. I told you that on Link. I really like how it goes from the priest being murdered and you cut to a scream, then you cut to a thunderstorm. So
And you plug.
you had mood, then you cut to establish more mood, and then you cut back to the aftermath where everything is fucked up and there's blood everywhere, but you still don't see the murder. I know what that is. My kid's karate teacher plays it all the fucking time.
Oh, my kids love it too.
Another Cobra's Cool Corner.
Yeah.
Kids
Imagine Dragon.
They
I know
like-
what's hip.
They like those Imagine Dragons.
35 and still hip.
So you wanted to see the murders.
Well,
I would have liked to
Again,
seen some horror in
my
this movie.
biggest complaint of this movie
It's a
is...
psychological thriller. Well, that's not a horror movie. Get
Yeah.
it off the show.
So, if I said I wanted to watch Silence of the Lambs, would you watch it?
Well, we watched fucking Hannibal because some of
That's
like,
not
that
the
was
same thing.
fucking awful.
Yeah.
well, they kind of are.
That person probably doesn't listen anymore.
Well,
John
they're
knows.
investigating the crime, and his one coworker comes up to him and says, "Why do you want me to?"
Are we at the
fucking-"
confession booth murder
Yeah.
yet? Okay.
He's like, "Why do you want me to check the fingerprints on the inside? It would just be the priest." He's like, "I know." He's like,
So,
Except
Why?
he closed
voice,
it like this.
I'm padding the job. He's
That
like,
voice.
"Oh, sorry.
that voice at the confession booth we hear the confession, it starts out as like a woman's voice.
It was a
then-
It
woman.
was a woman.
Oh, it was possessed woman who. Okay.
Yep.
Never mind.
Yeah, possessed woman who what? Where's she at? Who is she?
Yeah,
Nobody
exactly.
knows.
She's one of the seniors at the end of the movie. Could be anyone.
Oh, I'm sure it could be any one of them. Jesus
Selling
Christ.
a character from 12 Angry Men right now.
I am one angry man.
2 references to 12 Angry Men in this horror podcast. It's fascinating.
Fucking great movie.
It is a great movie.
Red
Is it
Rum.
Peter Fonda?
No.
It's a Fonda, right?
Is that Jane
I don't think
Fonda?
there's
Henry
a Fonda in
Fonda.
it. Is it Henry Fonda?
I think it's
it might
Henry
be him.
Fonda.
Yeah.
Is it
Anyways.
Humphrey Bogart?
No.
It's not Bogart.
Okay, so
I
what
don't
they
know. You said 50s. That's
Get
what
your-
I think of when I
get
think
your-
of
so what
Get
they
your fucking Bogart movies right.
the Maltese Falcon.
I don't know.
so what they find
Not a
out is
Bogart.
that
Nobody
somebody's been injecting some sort of drug into the victims. So
It
the
paralyzes them,
they
but
use it for shock therapy.
But they
Yeah.
can still
It keeps them
experience the
awake.
pain and they're aware of what's happening.
They
to them,
cannot do anything
but they
about
can't
it.
do anything. They can't even scream out
Right.
because
So
of
it's
this drug.
horribly just
No,
awful.
it sounds awful.
Yeah.
So it reminded me of Wolf Creek, where he talks about
Head on a stick.
head on a stick, and he describes that piercing the nerve
Yeah,
in
you
the
can't
spine
move, yeah.
to where you can't move from the neck down, but you're very aware of what's happening to you.
I hated Wolf
It's
Creek.
terrifying.
That is a terrifying thing,
Yeah.
but that was the only thing that movie had.
That movie was so bad. Thanks,
It's
Brett.
long.
Yeah.
You faggot.
So
Jesus.
so then
I was just kidding.
we get Kinderman going to visit his friend Father Dyer in the hospital.
And what happens?
I think my favorite scene in the movie. You guys disagree completely.
This is one of those where it's okay. This movie's an hour and 50 minutes. I could easily cut out 20 minutes, make it more tight.
I think this is not where that should be
No,
done. It
this
should be done at
fucking
the
this
end.
nurse comes in. She's gonna give him pills, and they're like, "What room are you?" And
I didn't
she's
tell
like,
you
"Oh, I'm
that.
looking for 411." And they're
First
like,
of
"This
all-
is 410."
It was to establish that there was that character in the movie. Secondly,
That's it.
she was watching a scene where that woman was yelling, "Oh, stop that!" from outside. And she was like laughing her ass off at George C. Scott because he was, yelling so much.
He yells a lot.
And they were like, "We got to get you a scene in this movie." So they just wrote this
Yeah,
little
but that's
scene.
not good to put this. Like that's what
And then-
takes up more. That's what doesn't.
It's bad fodder.
This-
You
Right
lose
here-
attention.
This right here is to establish how close Dyer and Kinderman were.
We get how
That's
close
fine,
they are.
but
They
why
go
does
watch
this
movies
nurse have to
together.
come in and act like she's in the right room, but she's
But
not?
that's 10 seconds of the movie. We're
It
not
doesn't
gonna
matter.
make the-
You add that up, and it just like
Well, that's all it was. Like, they wanted to show that the Father
Like that
Dyer
carp
was a good
story.
character.
There's a carp in the
I
tub.
liked the carp story. I really
who puts a
did.
carp in the bathtub? Who eats carp?
Nobody eats carp. It's a trash fish.
But that's the whole point. Like, it's just nonsense. He's
No,
saying
he
that
says
himself. He's
it's
like,
a tasty fish, Father.
That's fine.
No,
If
it's
a movie
not.
is
I
90
kinda-
minutes.
That's what I'm saying. Cut all these out.
I don't think that's what should have been cut, to be honest.
What should have been cut?
I can't
Some
wait
of the
to-
stuff at the end should have been cut. When
Well,
fucking
yeah, the
Brad
Brad
Dourif is talking for an hour and a half. Some of it is good. Some of it
I
is
still
way
feel like Father
unnecessary.
Morning character is not necessary at all.
That's the studio.
Why does the
That's
one that-
100% the studio. They like put an exorcist in this fucking movie, put a priest in the movie,
he has
make him
nothing
read
to do
some
with
shit.
anything.
He doesn't. He has nothing to do with anything.
What's up with the detective wearing the sunglasses in the?
He's an
At
idiot.
night?
He's an idiot.
No, just in the
All-
in the
All
in the
of his
office.
partners are racist fucking morons.
I get that.
And it's to
Uh,
put stress on him because he's trying to solve this fucking crazy crime.
That's why John likes it, 'cause it's so racist at Jews.
Did you see
You
the
don't
plot-
like Jews, do you?
That's not.
Is that
Did you-
true? JC? We know you don't like JC. You call him Jeebus all the time.
Did you
Just being friendly.
did you see the Fabio cameo?
Yes.
I saw the Patrick
That was
Ewing
him?
one.
And Patrick Ewing was also
I did
one.
not.
Can you plug
I don't know, Patrick.
I can't believe it's not bothering.
in any Patrick Ewing interview?
Both he and Mac are going to be our backcourt for the future, and he showed some big cojones today.
But this scene is so cool
Something
because
ridiculous where he says something stupid.
he's having a dream where he's in heaven and the kid who got murdered got his head cut off.
Oh, that dream was terrible.
It took
on!
this dream was 10 minutes long.
Yeah,
my
dream
God.
keeps going on.
It was
and
10
on
minutes long.
And on.
And Patrick Ewing is reading tarot cards. Now I'm going to give the movie this.
They didn't let him talk, which is good.
And
One more thing. Patrick Ewing went to Georgetown University.
Oh, nice.
So, I give it 1 point for that.
All right.
Wow. And
Yay.
he's woken up with a phone call saying his priest friend is dead.
Who was in his dream?
Who was in his dream and
He
said, I'm dead.
No, he said, what did
He
say?
said as much.
Yeah, you're right. He did. He was like, I wonder if you're dreaming this too. And he's like, no, I'm not dreaming. And then it showed a clip
You
of
also
him.
saw fucking stitch marks
On
around
his
his
neck.
neck.
But
Yeah,
you saw a
you
clip
did
of
see
you
those.
saw a clip of a needle insert, and you also saw him flipping up and down in bed. So I don't know. I liked it. Sorry, I'm gonna have to apologize for everything.
And then
You don't have to apologize.
and
Just
then
know that we're
George,
gonna make fun of you.
George C. Scott goes to the crime scene the next morning, and they have these
Holy shit!
And he's blooded.
bottles, capped cups of
Blood.
Every bit of Father Dyer's blood supply has been put into these.
Is that
cups.
scientifically possible? All the blood there is the only blood that's running through your body?
I'm sure there's little drip drops.
If Married with
There's
Children
gotta be-
told me anything,
There's got to be more than that.
you have 7 pints of blood.
Something like that.
Or
It's
something
got to
running
be
through
less
your
than
body.
7 pints of blood.
Ask Clint
laying on that
Malark,
table.
Shock Kill tell you.
Oh,
Is that a hockey player? It
yeah,
sounds like it.
fucking don't watch the YouTube.
Did he get his neck slit
Yeah,
with
it
a
was,
skate?
Zednik did it too, but it wasn't as bad.
No, he grabs his neck, and then it looks like somebody dumped a bucket of blood
Is he
straight
still
onto
alive?
the
He
ice.
must be.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, he's still
talking
alive.
about
He was
it.
on the end of the rink where the medical people were.
I feel like
if
you
he
guys
wasn't, he
wouldn't
would have
talk about
died.
someone
He
that
probably would have
died,
died.
but I would.
Didn't they did something with a pen, like
Mm-hmm.
an ink thing with a pen thing to link the
Yep.
arteries together to keep the blood flowing until they could get him to a hospital or something.
That's
It was-
fucking sick.
Oh, fucking watch the video. It's
The announcers are like, turn this off. Turn this off
it's
right now.
awful. It's just
Okay, so Father
Movie.
Dyer's blood supply has been put into several jars.
Let's say
Except
24.
Yeah, except for a little bit, which was used to write "It's a Wonderful Life" on the wall.
which is
that's
the
the
movie
movie
they
we
went to
went to
see.
see.
Yep.
I like that
Plug.
movie.
It has 2
Can you
L's.
plug?
Wonderful.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, George! Merry Christmas, George!
This
Which
movie
can-
needs something to help
All right,
it.
so now the movie pretty much takes place in this hospital. from
Yeah,
here on out.
they locked the hospital down
Mhm.
and they're investigating. Like they still think George C. Scott he thinks the killer is possibly still in the hospital, so he's basically locking it down and searching every single space of the hospital.
Herschel from The Walking Dead was a doctor in this.
Was he?
He smoked. He was a chain smoking doctor before
saw-
he
that was
killed
the last
himself.
episode.
Oh, Temple.
That was
Yes,
that
Dr.
was,
Temple.
That was the last episode of Walking Dead I watched. Was his beheading, and then I was like, "This shit's stupid."
That I was like 2 episodes after that. I think
Yeah,
we
really, I was
stopped.
just like, I stopped. Season 3 was done.
It was bad.
I didn't
It's
get that far.
still on.
It's bad.
Yeah, seasons 2 and
It's fucking-
2 and 3 were good, and 4 I think is when he got
Yeah.
beheaded. Was when it just was like.
It's bad.
And then 5 they killed Glenn. I think is when we stopped watching. But then they brought him back. He was really under a trash can the whole time after his blood he got.
Oh, fuck this goddamn
She
show.
brought him
What?
back as a zombie.
No,
What?
they killed him off, and then I think they got such throwback for Glenn that the next few episodes
They
they
brought his character back.
portray. It's like they didn't kill him off, like they didn't do it. He was under a dumpster, and you know that they like pulled him out.
I thought there was a
And
whole
then it
thing. He got
stopped.
his head whacked with a bat.
Yes, that's what it was. He got murdered like twice. No, the first time he got pulled out of the dumpster, and like they cut from it, and then like we were supposed to believe he was dead, and they got backlash for it. They brought him back,
And
then
then
he
they
got
whacked him
whacked
with a-
off by Negan.
He
And I
whacked
think
him.
that's when we stopped watching it. Is when
Okay.
he got killed off the second time because
That was such
Robin's
a huge fucking deal for
favorite
some reason.
character.
because his eyeballs busted out. I saw stills of it. I never even watched the
It's
episode or
terrible.
anything. I
That
don't
show
know.
was bad to begin with.
All right, so we're still here.
We
I
went
think
to
that's
Heaven
when I
City.
turned. That's when I turned.
Night of the Living Dead.
What about it? Which
We
one?
went there.
Yeah,
Heaven
we did.
City.
This episode's still on
Apparently,
the
the
desktop.
episode didn't.
Sounds like shit.
Yeah.
It's like.
Hey, that sounds like the show.
Kinda like this movie.
interrupting report. The zombies are attacking us.
Exorcist III. Not that good. Not that
Somebody
good.
cut your oil thing. Your brake fluid's leaking everywhere.
It made puddles, I think.
It did the whole way up.
It was like
I
a
wouldn't
rainbow.
be surprised if the dead rised up that day with
Because
your,
of
with your battery fluid all over the place.
who would have known? Seeping battery fluid into graves brings the dead back to life.
Which Trioxin 245 does.
Ugh, where are we at in this?
This is where the movie kind of hits a wall for me.
Really?
Yeah.
This part?
It hits a
joking.
little bit of a wall here. He spends a lot of his time in the hospital.
Talking.
Investigating the one nurse who's just being an asshole.
I have a
Maybe
radio
she
that
looks
needs
familiar.
fixed.
I don't know.
Is there a radio lady?
They go talk to the radio lady who was walking passed out the next night in the middle of the floor.
She was with the guy that died in the blood.
She is the one that killed him.
Yep.
She did, but she was possessed by fucking Patient X down in the basement.
And who's that?
Brad Dourif.
Or
Jason Miller.
which one? In the thing, it says that Father Karras, Jason Miller, is Patient X.
That makes more sense.
And the
Brad
Gemini
Dourif is
Killer
the
is Gemini Killer.
Okay.
But how are they the same person in the same body?
The same way that Reagan and Pazuzu were the same person in the same
But they
body.
weren't. Because once Pazuzu took
Same
over,
way Emily
it
Rose was the same as like 12 demons that
she
were.
wasn't.
There were 12 of them.
7.
7,
So-
sorry.
Maybe 6.
When
Quit reducing the
Well,
number.
it's 7 or 6. You over-exaggerate it by a ton.
Okay.
when
By at least double.
Half dozen.
Inflation.
when Patton goes down to the Lecter ward, as they like to call it,
He's bloated like a fish.
he's
I'm
walking through the
sure.
hall, and somebody calls out his name.
It's
It's-
Jason Miller.
Okay. So
Because they know each
I'm
other,
assuming is
huh?
he the only one that can hear this? The doctor standing right beside him can't hear
The
it.
doctor's in on it.
Which doctor?
They're all fucking possessed.
No, but fucking
Oh, that's Chainsmoker?
Chainsmoker is in
That's
on it.
Herschel.
That's
Can
so
you believe-
crazy. I can't believe
Yeah,
I believe
he's
that.
so thin and felt.
Doesn't
in
look
this
old.
movie. Yeah.
I guess this demon or the
Voice
devil or
doesn't sound
whoever
the same either.
approached him and said, you know, do you want to help with this? If you don't, I'll
Did
kill
you-
you.
You're making stuff up.
That's what Brad Dourif says, doesn't he?
I don't know.
This is your movie, man.
His monologue, there's too many dos protests in this fucking monologue.
He's Shakespearean.
You know who
Oh,
loves
it's
this
old
movie, and
English.
I can't imagine why. This is Jeffrey Dahmer's favorite movie. Yeah, his absolute favorite movie. Not surprising.
And you picked it. Way to go. You and a cannibal have the same
I
taste
love
in
this
movies.
movie though.
Why don't you just go eat a human?
I don't know. If you
You
can
sick
trick me
fuck.
into it and then you tell me it's human, what am I gonna do if it tasted good? I mean, if I eat cats at Chinese, cats taste good.
They do.
They do.
You eating at the Golden Dragon down here?
Sometimes. I
Is
know
it
that
good?
they had soap in the back of their vehicle the one day and had to
Excuse
shut
me?
down.
They had what?
They had soap and they had the meat in the same freezer container. Like
Who put
freezer
soap
thing.
in a freezer?
I don't know, but they crashed, or they didn't crash, but they hit a bump and the box broke open and the soap
Oh, they were
went
transporting
into the
them.
meat and they served the fucking meat to people and they had to shut down the place for a little while.
All right.
Do
well,
people
I'm
get
not
sick?
going there.
They did, and then they shut
What's
it
that
down.
make you do? Diarrhea, puke,
Probably
maybe?
diarrhea, I would think.
Can't
So,
imagine it's too much.
They didn't know till they opened up
How
the truck.
could you tell Chinese food?
That's right.
Right, yeah.
What symptoms are different, dog? I don't know. Explosive diarrhea. Nope, that's Chinese.
Yeah, it's Chinese food. You tell me it's soap. How do you tell the difference?
You're puking, well, ooh, that could have been a bad egg roll.
That's terrible.
Holy shit, I just looked at this and I realized that 2 arrows went to the same place.
Yeah.
This diagram
nothing
doesn't make
there.
any sense.
So-
There's nothing there.
There's a road leading back to the devil.
That's.
It's the fucking one road.
You need
through-
to.
what's
Can you take a picture of that and post it? It's kind of
Sure.
like your Haddonfield map.
a little bit.
The Hansel map made
One
sense,
line.
though.
It was just one straight
No,
line.
the Haddonfield map didn't make sense.
Yes, it did.
No, it
There
didn't.
was
every
one road.
building or house in all the movies were on that street. They were
Did
all
not.
there.
It was close.
All right. I have lots of yelling in this movie. Brad Dourif's monologue, lots of dost.
A decapitated head can continue to see for approximately 20 seconds. So when I have one that's gawking, I always hold it up so that it can see its body. It's a little extra I throw in for no added charge.
I must admit it makes me chuckle every time. Life is fun.
It's a wonderful life, in fact. For some.
So gross.
George C. Scott tells the real Gemini story.
Jason Miller talks about murders that only the Gemini killer would know about, which is That's a creepy fucking scene.
Is it?
Describing what he did to the little girl with the dress.
Okay,
We
so
know
the
what he did
description
to her.
is creepy.
There's no visuals that are creepy.
I'm just not creeped out in this movie as much as I was with The Exorcist.
I know
the
I
original.
can't get this from you, okay? I might be able to get it from Ben.
Well,
Too
fuck
many jump
you.
scares. Too many jump scares.
No. There's only one jump scare.
Oh,
in
there's
this.
more than that.
Well, there's a couple that are like...
The one that happens in the church after dark.
A guy goes down a stairwell.
Which,
and then
by
a
the
woman
way,
runs into
I didn't
him.
like that because they cut that girl from the movie except for that one scene. She's in it more, and it makes a lot more sense that she'd be wandering around with a fucking manuscript
Okay, but
at night.
I'm like, Bill is talking to this priest. All of a sudden, he goes for a walk in the church and then goes back to the priest. What's his reasoning for leaving?
I'm gonna tell you that doesn't make any fucking sense. That scene is always, since I've watched it a lot of times, that is the one scene where I'm like,
oh my god, you've rewatched this.
He said he watched it like 90
I
times.
love this movie.
I think 90 was the correct number he gave.
So, he's talking to him to find out what the connections are, and they figure out the connections. Fine.
What are they?
Fine. Well, the mother of the boy at the beginning
The black boy.
Oh god, the connections.
translated the
Sounds like the Scream
the
thing.
talk
Take the initials
from
and
what's her name at the beginning, the first one,
Reagan.
as backwards English.
this is his.
This is
his-
the way they
the
try to
priest-
connect it to the first one.
This
It's
is
the
his,
writer of the first one. Of course, he's gonna try and connect
It
it to his
doesn't
own
matter.
But it
voice.
doesn't make any. He's like trying to take his Legion story and connect it to the fucking Exorcist.
This is
for
as
no reason
logical
whatsoever.
as in Scream 2 or 3 when they're connecting the initials to the people who were killed in the first one.
Isn't it?
And it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I stopped
Exactly.
after 3.
It's awful to. Why are you trying to connect?
Because he had to make these characters in the same place with the same demon have a reason for what was happening.
If
Well, he
there's
didn't do a very good job of it.
I understand. It's capitalism. They're gonna make money.
Okay.
That's why Friday
Demons.
the 13th were pumped out.
I think
Yeah, but
every
they
year.
were good and entertaining.
Yeah, they were. But I'm
In
just
90
saying,
minutes.
this is not. We don't need this movie to enjoy the
Okay,
first.
let's-
Exorcist.
Okay.
Exorcist again. You have to remind me of the first Exorcist because I'm just go back and watch it.
Yes, exactly.
It was
I'm
alright.
sorry you like this movie.
A way that the devil could help both the Gemini Killer and Pazuzu. The Gemini Killer only kills K names, right?
Why?
God.
Because that's the name of his father, I think, and he's being an asshole towards his father.
But he doesn't even just kill because that one guy's middle name is Kevin, so he goes a little off script.
yeah, he goes a little bit, but he doesn't go completely off script.
But
Oh my god.
He does not kill the woman who translated that shit, but she happened to name her kid a letter that began with a K.
Yeah.
That made it
That's
okay to
very
kill her.
convoluted.
Of course it is.
There you go.
So,
Again,
look,
we don't need
exorcism
Exorcist Part
movies
3.
are convoluted.
Not all of them.
The first Exorcist was pretty fucking good. She messed with the Ouija
Emily
board.
Rose is pretty good.
Emily Rose, she's got 6 people inside her.
But
Not
it's
2.
not that the only time you know that is for 1 minute in that barn scene. At no other point do you know that there are 6 demons inside of her.
You also got to remember that, like, in these movies, the demon that's possessing the body is a liar, so you can't really take anything that they're telling you as dead serious. Because
They're
there's
fakes.
even a part where Brad Dourif is doing his "Das protest too much" shit, where he says something about, "Is this true?" So he isn't even sure if the story that he's telling Kinderman is actually true. He's just telling him what the devil is telling him is true.
The very next scene after this,
I don't buy it.
where the George C. Scott's in the church at night talking to a priest,
Mhm.
they're connecting everything back to the first Exorcist, and then they shoot the next scene, and it's a priest, and he's got like some bird in a box.
He briefly
Bird box.
mentioned, fucking bird box. He briefly mentioned.
He
that
mentions, and it took me
guy-
about 15 minutes after this to go, oh, that's the guy who,
he was in the Philippines. Oh,
he
no.
initiated the first.
He was in the Philippines and fought the same
Exorcist.
demon.
Yeah,
This
he initiated.
demon has
Father
a real...
Warning! There's no point in this movie!
No, they
No.
just keep
This
introducing
is
all these
a this is a
fucking
100% studio interference play right here. They're like, if you're gonna make an Exorcist movie, we need an Exorcist.
Okay, you.
Why couldn't you just make...
As we're going on, you're saying, oh, this scene. Yes, I don't agree with this. This is an interference scene from the studio. why do you like this movie so much?
I love the relationship between Kinderman and Dyer. I really do.
Okay.
I think George C. Scott does do a good job.
It might have been better in the first one.
I think the
we didn't see
lines
it
that
as
they
much.
wrote for Brad Dourif were shit,
Yeah,
but
that's
I
bad.
think he acted them really well.
It's Brad Dourif. He has that voice that.
So, just those things, like, and there's some other subtle shit that goes on in this movie that really creeps me out. Like, for instance, when they talk about, they're walking away and they do that stupid horror stereotype where you're walking away and somebody says one line, and you're like, well, what? Oh, what? He's walking away from fucking the nurse, and she says, save your spirit. He turns around and says, what? And she says, that's the only kind thing that guy ever said other than kill it. Right? Save your spirit, they find out, is the opening lines from the exorcism ritual, which means fucking Father Karras is aware of what's going on.
So convoluted.
He's trying to give himself a fucking exorcism.
You are the biggest dork in the world.
That's
You
way
know
too.
these lines.
That's way too many steps to get to where you need to be in a movie.
I'm kind of thinking that. Like,
Oh man,
I appreciate your defense of this movie and your
I
passion.
had to come hard with this one because the Cemetery Man thing was just like, it's a joke, guys. It's a
Ce-
joke.
I think
Cemetery-
Cemetery Man was better than
The
this.
Cemetery,
Oh no.
Cemetery Man at least had really
Boom.
nice tits.
And it was fun.
Yeah, there are no tits in this.
This
movie.
movie,
You want to see?
this movie had no fun appeal to it.
There you go.
I don't agree. At least not at the first half. The second half kind of loses it unless you really like Brad Dourif. If you don't like good dialogue,
What's
If he's
fun?
gonna run my movie now,
What is
I don't
fun
think so.
though? There's nothing fun or funny about Brad Dourif.
Hey, can I have another beer, please?
Brad Dourif / Jason Miller keeps trying to convince George C. Scott
Oh,
to
there's
tell the
this.
press.
Okay,
There's a
they
demon roar.
They try to get him to question his faith. I'm not getting anything
He didn't have any
beforehand that he
faith.
had any faith at all.
Who,
So,
George C. Scott?
Yes.
He had zero.
I don't think they're trying to get him to question his faith.
Nunca.
what are they trying to do then?
They're trying to.
They're actually trying to get him to believe.
They're trying to get him to believe in it, yeah, and then kill him. By the way, they're killing off the K's, right?
Yeah, George C. Scott, what's his name?
Kinderman. They're torturing him the most out of everybody.
He's so
He's
tortured.
losing his fucking mind.
He's so
Yeah,
tortured.
okay,
I can
he
tell.
is.
They're making him so bloated through the movie.
I don't think they were like, let's make George C.
That
Scott
scene-
fat. They're just
another-
like, George C. Scott is fat.
Another
He's
one
so
of these,
bloated.
another one of these crazy scenes, and I'm sure you're gonna tell me something.
Okay.
And now that I'm thinking about it, that doctor he's practicing his lines for when George C. Scott
Fucking
comes in.
creepy.
Why is he practicing his lines? Is he
He wants to
possessed?
get it right.
And
He
wants-
doesn't want to get killed by this fucking thing. It told him, you need to lead him in this direction because we want him to know.
Okay.
But if you fuck it up or you don't do it, we will kill you.
So he tells him.
Is that why he's so nervous the whole movie smoking cigarettes?
Chain smoking and shit, yeah.
So that's the guy who tells George C. Scott that the guy is the
Tells him
Gemini
the
killer.
story. Said we
He
found
tells
a
him the story
guy.
about the guy. We found the
Yeah.
guy 15 years ago. He came in. He was
There's a poster with boobs.
Had no idea.
he had no idea. And then 6 weeks prior to where we're at in the movie, he started coming out
He
of
woke up and was violent.
Yeah.
hmm
Okay. So that's why they have him hooked up to brain machines.
And when he sleeps, his brain patterns go insane.
Yeah.
Where are we at? I got notes everywhere.
Oh, again. We're back in the cell.
Okay, let me talk
George
about
C.
this.
Scott's interrogating him.
Let me just talk. Let me read through my notes. You tell me when we get there.
Okay.
Scott talks of an old lady again.
Ugh.
Fingerprints.
Fucking old lady.
Posters with boobs.
Posters
Herschel tells a story. That's that doctor.
Okay.
Says he's the Gemini killer.
That's where we are.
It's not in the files. It's not in the files.
Yeah, then he goes down and he sees that it's Jason Miller. And he goes up and he's like, where the fuck? Who is this guy from? Where is he from? Do you have any ID on him? Did he look like a priest? And she's like, it's in the file. And
Oh,
then he
that
starts
nurse.
getting mad, yeah.
Father Karras in cell 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
He says,
we're at the
I
bottom
saw
of
my friend
notes.
fall down the stairs and die.
Who said that?
George C. Scott, he said, I saw him do it, I saw him die.
He didn't see that, did he?
He was there.
Was
Is he
he?
at the bottom of the steps
Mhm.
already?
Yep.
Is he the guy that Reagan kisses at the end of the movie?
No, that's Father Dyer. That's the guy.
That's the...
Other.
Okay, so they didn't get Father Dyer or Kinderman.
No. I don't know that either one of them were still alive.
Well, they
Greatest
better
reaction.
be dead. They both better be dead when I go look. Because if they couldn't get either one of those motherfuckers, William Peter
Or
Blatty,
maybe they said,
shame on you.
Maybe they said, it's Exorcist III, I'm too good for Exorcist III.
No,
George
shame
C.
on
Scott,
you,
though, was
William
like,
Peter
I'll do it.
Blatty, if you couldn't get those two, if they were alive.
Where are we at in this? interrogation. This is where
he's basically just like, tell the press.
This is where Jason Miller
Gemini
keeps
killer.
going in and out of Jason Miller to Brad Dourif to Jason Miller to Brad Dourif.
So whether a two-headed monster.
He punches him in the nose too.
I like
breaks his nose.
George C. Scott.
Yeah. Because then he gets his hand wrapped and sprayed. Remember that?
Yeah, the
shitty
nurse.
medical
The nurse
spray?
is like,
Yeah.
"I'm so glad you did that," or something like that.
He yells, his goddamn nose is broken. Comes out.
Really, George C. Scott was yelling?
No, she yelled that.
Oh.
Because she went in and he's like, he passed out. And she's like, his goddamn nose is broke. So she tapes up his hand and says the save your servant thing. That's when George C. Scott goes and looks in the Bible to see what save your servant is.
Oh.
And it's the beginning of the exorcism, right?
Oh, fuck me. I got a problem with this part, too, where Brad Dourif literally says, dancing? Your daughter, basically? And then he doesn't see that until, like, later. And I'm like, what?
It's because he's not putting it together. He doesn't know that this is paranormal.
Well, he's the worst detective ever.
Yes! He's a detective.
He's a bloated, fat detective.
But do they teach you when you're like going to, I guess, detective school?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Say that.
Make sure to leave room for the paranormal.
No, but detectives are
keen.
If you have a detective, like you're street smart, you're book smart, you're just fucking smart. You're a detective, and he's just overlooking the most important thing in his life. His family.
You're inviting yourself to the dance or something like that.
Oh, it's just so like obvious.
It's blatant, yeah. And they kept showing his daughter, which, why would they do that?
Karis is Brad Dourif now singing like a chick.
Yeah.
When does that happen?
He says, I love plays, which is, I'm going after your daughter.
What?
Is that when he sings like a girl?
Yeah.
Patient X sings like a female.
Yeah.
Yes!
That's what
and
I'm
he
saying.
doesn't get it that I'm
He's
going to go after your
missing it.
family. And then we get
Bill
Bill walking around
We
get Bill walking around some library at night, and he just randomly reaches down, grabs a book, and it's like how to exercise people.
Here's the thing.
Convenience, exactly.
There's a lot of movies that do this exact same thing, and I think it was kind of early on in that process where people were going to the library to find information.
Oh, like 7 and
every movie.
7 is this movie ramped up to 11 with lots more like really orchestral soundtracks to it.
7's way better than this movie.
There's a scene where he's fucking throwing knives.
Tell him.
Right? Morgan Freeman's throwing knives at the wall.
I don't remember that. I've watched it once.
It's got this.
I didn't like it as much as most
crazy
people liked
orchestra
it.
behind it when he's not doing anything. He's just throwing fucking knives, and this thing's like, bah, 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 bah. Just why? I like the subtlety of this movie.
I wouldn't compare
That's
this
what I'm
movie to
getting at.
7 because
I think 7 took this to another level.
7 is so much better.
Nope.
7 is better acted and way better shot.
I completely disagree.
No, it's true. It's true. Minus Kevin Spacey's rapiness.
Yeah, what a fucktard. He ruined goddamn Usual Suspects for me.
Ruined
Jesus
everything.
Christ.
Anything he's in is ruined.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well, K-Pax wasn't very good from the beginning.
Okay, so that,
well, that was,
yeah,
that might be the worst movie I ever went to see.
You went to see K-Pax?
What?
Oh, what the fuck is that Robin Williams robot movie? I think I saw that.
Bicentennial, man.
I think I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that.
2 hours.
Saw that in the theaters,
I'm 8
too.
years old, and this robot's trying to get laid for 2 hours, and I'm like, what is happening?
I think I saw that in the theaters. Yeah, that actually might be the worst movie.
Holy
no, K-Pax takes it. Forgive me, U.S. Marshals and Tommy Lee Jones. K-Pax, worst movie I ever saw in the theater. Go on, John.
Okay, so
I don't know. We're at the
you
library.
got the library, right? And
What's going on in this movie?
then it cuts back to the hospital.
Brad Dourif's a chick singing.
And he's gonna
this is where there's supposed to be cops on guard duty
Is this
at
where
night.
the nurse stalks that other girl?
This is one of the best scares.
This is one of the best scares. It's
not
really
even that
creepy.
scary.
No, it's creepy. It's not like
it's
jump
the long
scare.
shot build up with the silence and shit.
It's 2 seconds out of a
Yeah.
fucking 2-hour movie.
If it was
of
a little
nothing.
longer, it's like that. Like within a click of your
What's
finger.
so fucking creepy about it is she shuts the door twice, so you know that door is completely shut.
Yeah.
And something just walks out right from where the door is.
It's
with a pair
2
of
seconds
shears.
out of a 2-hour movie, though.
That's not what I think the best part of the movie is.
Well, then you're a fool.
Then you are the
You
fool.
are the fool. What's better than that?
I like the scene in the hospital with
There
the
is
Iron
Brad
Hand.
Dourif
I know
talking.
you guys don't like it. I really like it.
With what?
The two of them in the hospital having the discussion. where they're joking back
early.
and forth with each other. I think that's
It's
the best scene.
okay.
I love the
I've
dialogue.
seen better banter.
He lost me. We're getting close to the Brad Dourif sneaking in the word "child's play," and I was like, "Oh fuck!"
Child's Play Lieutenant. I see
I was
it in
like,
my
"You
notes.
fucking kidding me?"
But he is also giving him hints.
This is where he says, "I let all my old friends out of their cells," or something like
His
that.
old friends help him get out of the cell.
Which is
Basically-
ridiculous because he doesn't get out of the cell. You just said he's possessing other people. So there's no reason for him to ever leave his
Well,
cell.
it's not a body that we're talking about here. It's the soul of a serial killer getting out of the room. His old friends help him move to these people who have invisible radios, which means they're getting incoming signal
From invisible radios.
from the demon.
My
that's
question
getting
is,
inside of
if
them and
he's
making
not
them
the one
move.
killing people, like in the devil, like just cut out the middleman. Why do you need Brad Dourif?
Because the Bible is full of this shit.
I don't
That's
read
all
the
it is.
Bible.
We don't like the Bible.
It's 100% just like contradictions and fucking fucked up shit that would
Oh,
take a lot less
yeah, we
work.
got fucking George C. Scott reading that famous "I am Legion, there are many," blah blah blah.
Yeah.
That's the name of the book.
So like this, the guy who wrote this did have, I think he wrote this to like take care of his own like problems with faith and shit like that. This and The Exorcist both. So he was struggling with it on his own when he wrote the books. So he's putting it into his own books.
Again, I wasn't raised Catholic. I mean, I'm not Catholic, but I wasn't raised Catholic, so like I don't. The whole possession thing, like I'm not as.
When I was 8,
You're the only Catholic in the room here.
Most of the time, the possession was to like
Was-
spit in the face of either believers or God himself.
So, my question is, why is Catholicism like with the whole possession thing and stuff? Why are all demons and possession? Why is it all a Catholic thing and not Protestant?
I know this.
You never see a
Shit, I
movie
know
about
this.
like a Protestant being possessed.
There are. Okay, there was a. What the fuck was it? There was a thing of how many of the possessions were claimed by each religion, and there are not as many, but there still are ones in the Protestant religion and in the Methodist and the other in the Presbyterian.
Sure.
There are
Presbyterian,
a few.
Methodist,
The percentage is way higher in the Catholic one though.
Why?
I don't know. It has something to do with training the people to do them, and they can read the scripture a certain way.
Or are they just looking at mental illness differently?
I would say that.
That's probably part of it too. They're looking at it in a medieval way.
Those Catholics get so involved with the church, their brain goes whack, and they're like, "Whoa! What's that over there? Is that Lucifer itself?"
Yeah, we just lost our Catholic listeners. I'm sorry.
Well, they weren't here. They were never here.
We had 0 Catholic listeners.
All right, let's finish this bitch up.
So now,
Bitch, that's a good name for this movie.
So now the priest from earlier that was in it for 5 minutes shows up because
Father
the
Morning.
studio is really insistent on this happening.
He did an Exorcist once in the Philippines.
I guess this
Can you
was the
plug
same.
Tony singing from the Philippines?
This is this
Ever
is the
since
white.
ever.
I can never get that.
This is the white-haired priest who performed exorcisms.
So he
before.
has a past relationship with this Pazuzu demon.
So
Much
did
like-
Father Mary.
So I'm guessing this Pazuzu demon can't take a loss because
He's
he's
coming back.
pissed at this guy. He did the entire thing with Reagan so he could get after the priest who exorcised him over in Saudi Arabia.
Oh my God.
Middle East, some.
Also, Temple has killed himself. Apparently because he was weak. He was
Temple
just
of
fucking
Doom?
pathetic. No,
Is it the doctor?
The doctor killed himself. He slit his own wrist.
Herschel from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Herschel. So the priest goes in, starts reading off the exorcism rites. There's snakes and fire and stupid shit.
Where did this come
It's
from?
It's in his mind. It's supposed to be a fucking
It's
hallucination.
in his mind.
Is this
Yeah.
when the ceiling or the floor starts breaking into
Yeah.
like a pit of
Not
fire?
yet,
Fire
not yet.
and snakes.
First, the priest
we have
gets
to go-
pushed up on the ceiling and
Uh,
gets his skin ripped off.
Yeah,
his
we
head.
gotta. George C. Scott
That was
has to go
painful.
rescue his
Yeah,
family.
did. Until they fell, and then he was still alive when his body was ripped apart like in the
Hey.
Hellraisers.
He was like, what's his face in Friday 3?
Paul?
No,
Peter?
the black,
Jack.
the black
The
motorcycle guy.
biker
who
guy
Could,
got his hand chopped off, fell asleep.
yeah, he has me.
Alright.
He goes back later to help
What?
protect Chris.
If you had to guess,
Ali,
there can't be much more Patient X.
believe me, there is.
Oh,
Well,
man.
now, after the priest gets his head ripped open, that's when George C. Scott goes back to the hospital. Oh, we missed an entire scene
Oh my
where
God.
he possessed an old woman to go kill Julie, the dancer who's in plays.
Yes, we get
Which-
the 90 miles an hour through the streets of Georgetown.
Yep. So he gets there and she almost gets her head cut off, and I thought that
Oh
was
my God, those
creepy
fucking
as
shears!
fuck.
What are they cutting off dead bodies with those shears?
I don't know. Limbs, I guess?
You have to be cutting bone.
They go investigate earlier and they find that these
Yeah.
shears, you let them go and they just snap shut.
Yeah, they snap shut.
So that's how these things are killing these people, is they're
They're lopping heads
Just
off. with
lopping
that
heads
thing.
off, yeah.
Lopping heads off left and right.
Ugh.
They stuffed the nurse's body with rosaries, by the way. I forgot about
I
that.
remember that.
Jesus Christ.
I remember they said that.
Who
That's
is
so
this old
creepy.
lady? Who's
It's
this
so
old lady
creepy.
nurse that
10 Hail Marys and an Our Father.
There's a creepy scene where the old woman is walking on the ceiling, right?
That's
and
kinda
George C.
creepy.
Scott's walking around.
Yeah.
What's creepy about it is in the background you see the woman who put the nurse suit on to go to the house. Just walk right out real fast, like nobody notices her.
What if we didn't notice it? Then it's not.
I mean,
I didn't notice her till this watch.
I'm not.
Well, that's 91 watches later.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not saying.
Wow.
I'm saying
That's deep.
91 watches later. I'm not saying there's not creepy parts of this movie. I'm just saying
It's long and boring.
it's long. A lot of dialogue.
Cemetery Man was better, I think.
I think so.
Just because of the tits. That's
Nah,
what it is.
Yeah,
there's a lot
there
more
were things
funny.
going on.
Yeah.
I'm
This
not going to
movie
give
was
Cemetery Man
slow.
and the same score, by the way, so don't worry about that.
Well, thank God.
You're still ranking this higher than the original?
What'd I give the original?
I hope
I'll walk out of here right
A
now.
9, didn't I?
I don't know.
I said I couldn't give it a 10.
Well, then you're gonna.
Did you give it an 8, maybe?
I gave it a 9.
I'll have
You're
to go
not
back and
giving this
listen.
the 9.25, are you?
No. 0.25?
Have we gone like the Olympics?
9.0001. George C. Scott goes down there.
Oh, I do have. You just talked about the daughter getting saved from the fucking medical shear. Worst special effect ever. Her neck was like this rubber neck when they
It
pull
looks
her.
so weird.
It's just so weird. When they pull her out of the shears.
And then
they
this
save
fucking
her.
old woman is choking an old fat man against the wall. And
Yeah.
at that point, I'm like, a lot of old people in this movie.
I said that to you right at the beginning. I was like, George C. Scott, he can barely walk. He's
so
a detective. How's he going to chase
This is
down
like
criminals?
This is like the senior citizen horror movie right here.
That's what you were saying. There's a lot of people in this ward that are
Yeah.
80 plus. I was like, this is the weirdest statement I've ever heard about a movie.
It's so true, though.
A lot of old people live in this neighborhood.
So George C. Scott goes back to the hospital, finds dead father mourning on the floor, and now he starts
Well, he's not dead yet.
Oh, yeah, you're right. This,
Yeah, his body
Hold
like
on.
was mutilated on the ceiling, but he falls
Just
down. And
hold
he's
on a
still
second,
alive.
because I do have a serious fucking issue with the end of this movie. So George C. Scott walks in there and basically gets thrown against a wall.
Yeah, no, he's on the ceiling.
And some early
Crucifix.
90s CGI shit.
He's kind
hits
of
him,
crucifixed against the ceiling.
He's like,
Over the wall.
and he says he believes, and then they have the kid come up with a weird statue head on his head.
the black kid that was murdered earlier.
Yep. So they reveal it to you at the end, which is, I thought that was pretty good. Pretty
Why?
smart. Because you don't see it
Didn't
at
they
all.
show it to
It's
us
rattling
earlier?
around him. No, they never do.
With the kid with the black-faced Jesus on him, said?
They show him in heaven with stitches on his neck. But they don't show what they actually did to the body, and that's what comes up out of there.
You mean black Sharpie marker with stitch marks on the...
Yeah.
Okay.
So
This movie was good.
that comes up, and the Gemini killer's going to kill him, but apparently the priest is fine, or at least going to...
He ollies it from Friday 3
Yeah.
and is still alive.
He...
Somehow.
Here's
But is
where my
quickly
problem...
dispatched afterwards.
Here's where my problem lies. Okay?
When you've just played dead.
He tells Damien, fight it. That's all he
Awesome.
does. He says, Damien, fight it.
Oh,
He could have walked in the door and been like, Damien, fight it. He didn't have to do the fucking exorcism or anything else. He could have just been like, Damien, fight it, and then
Yeah.
shoot him. Nope.
He does shoot him a bunch, right?
George C. Scott shoots him.
Remember he does the...
Holds the cross.
Damien does
Believe.
fight it and say,
Shoot me now! No, shoot me now!
and it's
Oh,
like...
that's right. Jason Miller
it's
comes in for
so
a second.
cringy.
You didn't like that?
Not
No.
really.
I don't like when two characters are the same person.
Then you shouldn't like any exorcism movie.
It's different because the demon takes them over at that point.
The demon isn't in there.
And this is not like a demon is in there. It's Jason Miller and Brad Dourif. There's no demon anymore. It's two people that should have died and they're both somehow holding on to life. And they're both...
If there is a spirit in this reality of movie that we're watching, then it is completely possible that the spirit can be manipulated by whoever controls the spirit. Devil, angel, God, Satan, whatever.
Alright.
Right? It's
Sure.
possible.
It's possible, but it's stupid.
So, who's going first with their...
I gotta go because I'm...
You want to go first?
It's gonna get slaughtered
I
by
thought
the
you
last
could...
film. You want me
I
to
thought
keep...
you could go last so that you could try to save this film.
Alright, fine. Ben, you go first then.
I'm always going first. Cobra, you go first.
Is this what you wanted?
I'll go after him.
He has a specific order in mind.
I'm going to give this...
That's right.
a 4 out
The
of 10.
fuck, man.
There wasn't a whole lot of horror going on in this movie. People died, yes. They showed a little blood, and then they showed them later either in heaven or in a dream sequence with stitches on their neck. And then a priest got sucked to a ceiling later on at the end of the movie. There was a woman in white that creepily stalked a nurse from behind for 2 seconds of this movie.
Did we figure out what she was? Was she a nun?
Or a nurse?
She had like a big hat on.
We don't know what she was.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This movie's a 4. It's not really that good. The acting's okay. The story's not that good. They loosely tie in this detective and this priest. And the priest gets murdered off real early. He apparently was... He wasn't even involved in the exorcism of her, but he got a kiss at the end of the movie, which made him involved in the first Exorcist, right? Father Dyer. He wasn't involved. It was Father Karras and Marin that did the exorcism.
That's where I was having the most problems with.
So I don't know why.
How were these other priests involved with this original exorcism?
Because they both were friends of Karras. Well, way to tie it together. A lot of people have friends. There wasn't enough horror for me in this movie. That's my biggest complaint. It was a psychological thriller mostly. If you like Brad Dourif and Jason Miller as the same character, screaming at George C. Scott a lot through the movie, and 80-year-olds, then you'll like this movie. If not, it's a 4.
80-year-olds. If you like old people, you might like this movie.
John hates old people.
Are you a fan of Cocoon?
Wilford Brimley naked? Sign me up. 4.
4?
4.
I got a little higher, not much. 5.
That's bold.
I agree with you. This didn't feel like a possession / slasher / horror, that we normally see. It felt like a police procedural. Felt like a Silence of the Lambs psychological thriller. Many pacing issues. They could have at least cut 20 minutes of the movie. I know John said he likes some of the scenes that I had problems with, like the nurse coming into the room. She's in the wrong room. It only took 30 seconds, but if you add a bunch of those up, you could take those out. The only real creepy part that I felt was the nurse stalking, and it's just it's in a blink of an eye. She comes across the screen.
Yeah, I almost missed it.
Yeah.
It's really good, John.
Alright.
It's really good.
George C. Scott just I have a lot of stuff here. George C. Scott, he's like 200% in this movie, and it just is the wrong movie maybe to a general in battle. Maybe I can see somebody screaming and being angry as much. I don't know. A police detective just doesn't work for me. Very weird looking too. He's very bloated in this movie.
He was fat.
I thought he was ill. I thought he died shortly afterwards. He died in 1999.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I looked it up.
I think it started in 1990. Whatever was going on.
He was like Jeffrey Rush. Do you know that actor, Jeffrey Rush?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Who fucking is always like 150%. He's like Jeffrey Rush on steroids in this movie. Like his seriousness.
Giving it all for a
like I said,
movie.
just lots of freaking yelling in this movie, and it's very off-putting. I did like it's well shot. It's the atmosphere. It's kind of creepy. Churches at night. I can remember when I did go to church and stuff. If I was at the church at night and there wasn't anyone there, it was very kind of creepy. It's supposed to be a safe place, but to me it always kind of creeped me out. Urban horror is kind of creepy. You always think of it as this haunted house out in the middle of nowhere, but in the middle of the city, you're not, you know what I mean? There's people around, you're supposed to feel safe, but I like that atmosphere to it. Again, it was well shot. Georgetown looks good.
You ever seen Georgetown?
No, I've never been there, but
How do you know it looks good?
It looks good through the camera.
It's a basic question.
I like it. It's just a neighborhood.
Need to throw that in there.
I just like to be a dick whenever I can be a dick.
But 5 out of 10. Like I really enjoyed the first Exorcist. Like I would rank it way higher than this one.
Hey,
I've never seen the second one, even though I've heard it.
That more stuff is happening if darkness falls. Exorcist
Oh,
3.
come on. Yeah, you're not gonna try to get me to give Darkness Falls a higher score. Get out of here. Weaver.
All right. I gave this an 8. Exorcist got a 9.
I'm glad that you like The Exorcist better than
After rewatching The Exorcist, I really, really loved it. So
good.
This one, basically, I think what happened is
William Peter Blatty.
William Peter Blatty wrote the first book, and it was brought to the screen sort of kind of like his book. It was pretty close. There was some stuff missing, but it was pretty close. So when he got a chance to direct it after the shitty sequel, he wanted this thing to be like his thing. Like, he wanted it to connect to his book. He wanted the characters to be the way that he imagined them, not the way that The Exorcist imagined them. I'm sure he thought The Exorcist was a really good movie. It wasn't like a Stephen King The Shining thing. Like, he liked The Exorcist.
There wasn't a fight over, what'd you do to my book?
But he wanted to make this one more his. So the ideas that were maybe abandoned, like such as the cop and the priest being such good friends, the carp speech that was left out, it seems really stupid in this movie, but he really, really wrote it for the first one. There's so many things that he threw into this one to kind of make up for what happened in the first one.
Maybe that's where
Which he shouldn't have, because the first one was amazing.
I was like, maybe that's where the extra 20 minutes came in this movie.
There's too much. And this is the theatrical cut, so there's more in like the director's cut and other...
Jesus Christ.
And it gets worse, if you ask me. There's nothing redeeming about any of them. There's no scenes that should be in there, except like little things that maybe should be, as opposed to long scenes where Brad Dourif is just ranting and singing songs.
Like a woman.
He doth protest too much.
There's a scene in my favorite scene, that one where they're in the hospital bed, when he leaves, like, Father Dyer kind of says bye to him after he left with like kind of like a somber look on his face, which would be like kind of foreshadowing, but they took it out, being like, you're never going to see him again, you kind of know that you're not, that kind of thing. They took little moments like that out and replaced him with Brad Dourif. Brad Dourif did pretty good, but he was reading lines that were shit. So I'm sure the director was like, oh, these are terrific because they're his lines. He wrote them. So I thought the acting was great, actually. I know you guys didn't like George C. Scott yelling so much.
He was probably the
bad.
He was probably the part that just seemed over the most seemed over the top.
I thought it was, for what was happening to the guy, I thought it was great. He lives at home with a woman that he hates who puts fish in his fucking bathtub.
Oh, that's the mother-in-law.
He's covering all of these crimes where people's heads are getting cut off and shit. His partners are fucking morons.
Get a better life,
Get better partners.
Get a better life, man.
But this is where he is right now.
He's 85, retired.
He's fucked. He should have took himself out with the Gemini.
Anyway, I thought that the way that he reacted to some of the stuff made sense. When the fucking doctor is yelling at him for trying to get fingerprints, because, you're going to make a mess of my hospital. He's like, he just screams at him, and then he like kind of is almost crying because he's so fucking upset. I think it's perfect.
I think, Oh, go ahead.
I think it could have been shorter. A lot shorter than some of the parts in The Exorcist. I thought could have been cut, that one character. But she's only in it for 15 seconds, so it's not that big a deal.
Which one? The one that came into the room?
The babysitter. Or the housekeeper, the girl.
Yeah.
You said it too. You said it yourself. Like, she's useless. That's the only part of that movie that has anything wrong with it. Yeah.
In the original.
Whereas this movie has a lot of scenes that aren't necessary. The whole scene where he's talking to the fucking priest about the connections, then gets up and walks around and gets jump scared,
and then comes back
for no reason, and then comes back. Nonsense.
Is that where he walks down the steps and that woman and just bumps into him on the stairwell?
Yeah.
Nonsense.
Because, okay, I didn't know about the white woman.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin's like, she's like, I watched this once, and there's one part that's supposed to jump scare you.
This is the iconic scene.
And she came up and she was like, did you see the jump scare? I'm like, yeah, some woman bumped into him at the coming down the stairwell that I don't know where she came from, but she was there. And then it's like half an hour later, the woman in white finally crosses the screen, and I
thought you guys would get too frustrated.
I was talking to her, and then I looked over and saw the tail end of it and was like, was that the... She's like, that was the iconic scene. I'm like, well, that was quick.
I thought the iconic scene was either Brad Dourif or Jeremy Miller in the room, and it's the eyes from the nose to the eyes are lit up, and the rest is shadow of the head, and the eyes are yellow. It's like this. I thought that was the iconic.
I've seen photos of the woman in white before, but that's when I was doing my horror quiz.
That was the creepiest part of the movie, but it lasted.
And that's not great.
1 second.
But that's
maybe.
the thing. This movie isn't filled with jump scares. It's all build. The whole movie is build.
But then there's no. The ending you said is terrible.
I hate the ending.
So you get all that build for an unsatisfying ending.
That's why I don't give it a 10.
Still giving it an 8 though.
You give that thing an ending. You cut out all the fucking Brad Dourif shit and give it an ending. That's a 10. It is.
Easy there, Zeus of Beard, Beard of Zeus, whatever you're doing over there.
It would be a perfect movie to what I'm looking for in a movie, I guess.
But there was no horror elements.
I thought there was. I thought the
whole
movie building up.
Where?
Like, describing the crime scenes.
Describing is not. You need to visually see stuff. Something. And what you see is.
I just got too much of a Hannibal Lecter.
Scars
and maybe
on the
that's
neck.
the time period where this guy's not even possessed. It's more of, like you said, a psychological thriller where he has connections to some other serial killer on the outside, and they're just fucking playing this detective for a fool.
Ooh, we need to pick the next movie, son.
I put him over here. We're gonna pick up one pile.
All right.
But
Can we
if you
pick
want
the
to
one
get a
we
hold of
want?
us, no.
What do you mean no?
I put them in piles of the ones that go together. We're gonna take one off.
Can we
the
at least
table.
pick which one we want?
No.
We can look at the piles and see which one we want to do next.
We already grouped them.
I know we grouped them, but can we
If you
want to
get a hold of us,
I don't know,
Facebook.com/horrorcastings.
Choose the one we want to do next.
Horrorcastings@gmail.com. You can.
You're starting to look bloated like George C. Scott.
Would you shut your mouth?
Start crying.
Facebook.com/horrorcasting. We're on Podbean, we're on iTunes, and we're on YouTube.
Thrill me.